If you're looking to recruit, most people rely on interviews. Now, I can tell you that interviews have a predictive validity of less than 25%. So if you're relying on interviews, you've got a 3 in 4 chance of getting it wrong. Who wants to take that risk? What this does is add some structure to the process, and I think that's applicable to any organisation, regardless of how big it is. I think when Express hit the market, it was unique. If I say to someone, well, you know, there's an online recruitment tool that we use, they think, oh, you mean Seek? No, Seek is a jobs board. It's an advertising platform. And yes, there are plenty of those. Are there other tools or instruments that do what Express does? Well, if there are, I haven't become aware of them. And one thing's for sure, Express is right on the leading edge of that development and has been since it started. It really is a 21st century solution to that problem. So you can recruit large numbers of people if you have to, ideally to similar specifications, and they can be in multiple locations, and you can manage it all centrally. I can't think of a better solution. I've used it initially for what I would call intermediate level appointments, but I've also used it for senior executives, and with great success. It's a bit like if you're going to go and make a purchase, the most important thing is to be clear in your mind about what it is you want, the specification. So it's absolutely worth investing a bit of time and effort in getting that right, and that will help you translate the criteria in the Express instrument to help you get a better result. And as our experience proves, there's no real inhibition at the level that might apply. I had a background as a professional recruiter myself. What I would say is this just so much slicks up the process that you have a much greater level of confidence in the way it's managed in totality. Express is a disruptor because it totally disrupts the traditional model of recruitment. But how's that a bad thing? And why wouldn't it give a HR organisation more time to do other stuff that perhaps they can add more value to, because Express will really enhance their recruitment process. There's a lot of people who love that power and control around the recruitment process, and it appears as some kind of black art. Express takes away a lot of that, mystique. Anybody can be involved in the process as long as they understand it. But what it does do is it reduces what is otherwise a very time-consuming process into one that's far more efficient, effective, and will give better results. And if gives them some other space to go play in, maybe. I'd rather not have them at all, but at the end of the day, HR is just a means to an end, and the end is the effective selection of people who've got to work in the workplace. So I think Express allows a lot more engagement of the people who are going to be working with the folks that we're looking to select. I think an HR function ought to see this as actually improving process and saving them time, energy and effort, but best of all, get a better result. Recruitment can be intimidating for some people, and for others it's a means of influence in an organisation. But it's a science, and there's a fair bit of art in it as well. But what Express does is take a lot of the, it introduces a really solid system, expert methodology, and most of all, the candidate is looked after to an extent that you just don't see in conventional recruitment. And by that I mean, in applying for a role, a candidate's often seen as a commodity, and B, something that's just held on the shelf for a while. But the key to any process like this is speed and communication. And Express communicates with everybody in the process, but particularly the candidate. Candidates get stuffed around generally, but in Express they don't. If they're still part of the process, they're told that. If they're not, they're let go with dignity, and they can move on to the next role that they're pursuing. There's an old adage that says we hire for skills and fire for attitude. Skills, they're made as a claim in a CV. They can be reference checked and all that sort of stuff. But attitude, that requires a bit more rigour in determining where that sits in the scheme of things. One person's attitude it's not necessarily wrong. It may not just be a fit with the culture of the organisation. And in my experience, Express helps make very good selections on those criteria. I talk here about belief and conviction. They may believe that. My conviction is I doubt it. And I've just seen too many examples of that. If you've got to read, let's say on a big pool of applicants, you're talking 40, 50, 60 applicants, to read and synthesise all those CVs in a level of excruciating detail and distill what you need from it, that's an enormous task. If people believe that, I'd like to see it demonstrated consistently and have the stats to back it up, because I doubt it. That's why we've introduced computers into just about everything we do. They help synthesise that information and distill it into manageable bites far more quickly than any process that might have been done traditionally. And the other problem with traditional recruitment is its reliance on interviews. With a 25% predictive validity measured, it's not something you want to bet the bank on. And when you're hiring people, that's exactly what you're doing. Because if you get the decision wrong, it's going to cost you a lot more than any cost you might have invested in selecting them in the first place. The cost to an organisation of getting a hire wrong escalates according to their role or level in the organisation. It's not good for anyone if it doesn't work. It ends up inevitably in a journey in tears, and there's a degree of an onus, if you like, on the client to make good selections. I have to say that since we've been using Express, which goes back some 10 years now, we haven't had a misfire. Not one.